As we do this segment, before we go into what we want to talk about, I wanted to commend my wife for the woman that she's been all these years we've been together. And I say that because, again, as a man, it's important to have people in your life that don't spend the most of the time working against you, but work with you. Now, Brenda and I have grown together a lot over the years that we've been together. But I will say this, one thing I know, that when we go lay down together, I know the woman that lays next to me at night, she loves me for who I am. Not all this made up exterior stuff. She truly loves me. In fact, when we was, just before we got ready to get married, I had already proposed to her, and we was riding somewhere. I was taking her somewhere, driving. She was in communication with one of her friends, so-called friends. Brenda told her that she was getting married to me. Now, apparently the other person had a different point of reference, because there was a time before then I was not driving. Because what had happened was the transmission had went out in the car, and I was trying to do everything I could to get another car, setting aside money and everything else like that so I could buy one at the auction and stuff. And the Lord had kept on telling me, give and it shall be given. I didn't want to hear all of that. So the money that I was taking to set aside for a car, I was taking it and sowing it as seed in church, in ministry and stuff like that. Now, apparently the other person didn't realize that. And this is why you have to watch those that when you're going through a time of process, they have an opinion of you, because many people, you want people to love you for who you are, not for what your potential is to give them. Now, mind you, I get the idea that as a man, I want to be able to get my wife around. I get that. I don't need to be told that. I know that. But it was good for me to find this out, because apparently the young lady had told her that since I didn't have a car, I wasn't fit to be Brenda's husband. You know what I mean? She said that, because that was one thing she said, he don't even have a car. So, gold digger. So, listen, thank God he saved me. So, while I was going through process, it probably kept those potential vultures away from me. All right, so I have to be real. Sometimes this is just the way life is sometimes. There's people out there that say, well, I don't want nobody that can do more for me than I can do for myself. Okay, that sounds good in theory. But even if you run into somebody that has it going on, what happens if a downsizing takes place and they lose the job? Does the love leave at that point? I want you to think about this, because there's lots of relationships that's built upon the wrong things. And even when it comes to relationships with God, many times it's built upon the wrong things. A lot of times when people look at God as a Santa Claus, because first of all, I call it Satan Claus. When you switch some of the letters around, it's not Santa, it's Satan. So, listen, you have to be very careful about every relationship. And even while a relationship with the Lord has to be built upon truth and built upon all the right motivation, God's not just a God that just answers our prayer. That's not just the reason why we want to serve him. We serve him for who he is. And you don't want any relationship to be based upon what a person can do for you apart from love. You understand what I mean? Apart from love. Now, love will motivate the parties to do the right thing. I get that. It'll never be an excuse for a person to be lazy and not try to do what is necessary in order to provide. But let's be clear. In the United States, by and large, what would be classified the poorest person here in the United States would be rich compared to somebody in another country. And I dare submit this to you that many of the things that causes divorces in here in the United States, in particular when it comes to money, couples in other parts of the world would not get divorced behind that. Because it's not that big of a deal like people make it here. And particularly with the church has produced an atmosphere of status, materialism and stuff, and they base relationships on that, rather than pure love, first and foremost for God, and also a love for each other. Again, let me be clarified that love will motivate people to do the right thing. But people in the United States, by and large, are spoiled. They don't know what it is to go through. And where I live here in this part of the United States, a lot of people complain about stuff that where I lived on the East Coast, they would be far more grateful about, because the cost of living is so much higher up there, and the competition is fierce. There's so many things that you have to fight in order to live a comfortable life up there that people by and large in the South don't have to deal with. So, I mean, like I said, it's important to understand this, because motivation is everything. You don't want to be dealing with people wondering if they really care about you or not. You don't want that to be part of the equation. So think about that as we go into our segment. Now, let me give you a word of advice for those of you that want prayer, particularly for healing. If you need prayer for healing in any part of your body, make sure that you've let go of unforgiveness concerning anybody. Make sure you let go of that. Cancer, or whatever the case is, make sure you let go of unforgiveness so that nothing is hindering your prayer. And that can include other things, financial blessings and stuff. And also, too, make sure that when you want God to bless you financially, that you're prepared to do right concerning what belongs to God, concerning whatever you get. And be prepared to be a blessing to the kingdom as well as to yourself. That's my advice. You don't have to take it. But it would make it easier for us to pray with you, because we have a lot of people that are sincere and love God and have right motivation and need prayer. But then you got a lot of people that want prayer, but they want it for their own selfish reasons. So why do you want God to heal you so you can still stay the same person that you are now? That's the reason why you got in problems in the first place. Because you walk in unforgiveness and you're angry, you're conniving, and all this stuff like that. Deal with the motivation of your heart before you start trying to ask God, a holy God, a loving God, what you want, like God can't see through all of this. All right, so that's my advice to every one of you. And those of you that want a good husband or good wife, make sure that you're prepared to be a good husband and a wife yourself before you ask God for something good and you're not prepared to do those things. You're wrong for that. And you're asking God to bless you under those circumstances. If you're the type of person that's selfish, you need to get rid of that before you talk about trying to share your life with somebody else or them to share their life with you. I mean, we have to be real concerning these things. All right? So I just want to throw that at you for good measure. For the year 2022, God had spoke to my heart before we did a service just recently. And he spoke to me these words. Now, this may not be for what everybody want to hear for 2022. But from 2022 on, there's going to be some definite changes in the agenda of the kingdom in regards to what's happening. A lot of people are prophesying a whole bunch of stuff about how good it's going to be. That only applies to those that are in proper alignment. All right? That only applies to those. You can't just live any kind of way in 2022 and think that God's going to just open up the windows of heaven and pour a blessing on you. That's a lie. I'm not going to prophesy. I'm not going to do that. All right? So this is what the Lord told me. He said, there is going to be a further dividing line between the real and the false this year. And this applies to the believer, the remnant. There's going to be a hedge of protection over the remnant, over the believer. Now, there is going to be a judging of false prophets this year. People are going to find themselves leaving here prematurely because they don't want to do right. So you can expect that. Hear me clearly. You can expect that for 2022. God told me, the Spirit of the Lord told me, he is cleaning his house, his church. He's going to be doing a purging. And he said there is going to be no more playing. And he was serious when he told me this. And this is just the beginning of judgment in the house of God. Hallelujah. There will be a distinction between the real and the false. And there is going to be no doubt, because a lot of people right now are confused as to who's real and who's not. God said he's going to make a distinction. He is shutting down some of this mess. He is going to be shutting this down this year. And this is going to be a continuation from 2022 going until the time that Jesus comes, because God is purifying his church. Hallelujah. And this is the other thing. God is going to confirm his true prophets. He's going to confirm them. Hallelujah. They will not be lying prophets, those that manipulate God's people. Hallelujah. And for those of you that truly want to be used of God and want to really preach truth, prepared to be hated this year. More so than last year. Prepared to be hated this year. Oh my Jesus, I feel impressed to speak this. Hallelujah. Now, this is the other thing you need to know. For the real prophets, it's going to be a dangerous thing to come against them. This is what the Lord said. It is going to be a very dangerous thing to come against the real prophets. God's going to stand behind his true prophets. He's going to stand behind his Elijahs and Elishas. You're not going to be able to get away with messing with them like you would mess with somebody in your traditional churches, your seeker-friendly churches, because they ain't got no power. They're not on the same level because they're operating on an agenda of compromise. They're more concerned about getting members in the church than raising up disciples that will carry the bloodstained banner of Jesus Christ and carrying the gospel and bringing forth the message of the cross. So these are the things that you can expect. Now, there are going to be signs, wonders, and miracles, but they're going to be coming through the remnant. They're going to be coming through those that have been broken before the Lord, that are not giving themselves to tradition and religious protocol. God is going to manifest himself in a very powerful, tangible way. Hallelujah. People are going to see a greater measure of who God is through the remnant. This is what we have to say for this year. This is what we have to say for 2022. But I gave you some extra stuff to throw in for good measure. Oh my Jesus. But God is not playing this year. If you are out of alignment, that's going to be a very dangerous place for you to be. You need to come into alignment. You need to walk in obedience. You can't be shucking and jiving. You cannot be lukewarm. Hallelujah. Because there's other things worse that's coming other than what has been going on as far as sickness and disease. You make sure that you stay in alignment and cut off those that are not walking in proper alignment. And it's important that you need to be able to discern this year, because some people that you call friends, they may be friends in the natural, but they're enemies in the realm of the spirit. Hear me clearly. They may be friends in the natural, but they may be enemies to your destiny in the spirit realm. And you need to know and to discern who you're dealing with in this season. This is Apostle Young. I wanted to give you that word for today and that word for this year and beyond. Hallelujah. There's people going to be dying this year. Hallelujah. And you might be surprised who falls in that category. I mean, who that's going to apply. We need to be serious about the things of God. God is tired of his church being manipulated and controlled and given a false narrative. Be ready. And remember, we talked about this now. My prayer for you is that you walk in discernment this year and that you do not walk conned and deceived. We will talk to you again real soon.